Hey everyone, I'm Liz Ferry and today I'm going to show you how to make braids for your crochet dolls out of yarn. Some things you'll need for this tutorial are a crochet hook, I'm using a size E, a pair of scissors. You'll also need something to wrap your yarn around to make sure all the hairs are the same size. I'll be using a piece of cardboard that I've cut to the right length. Make sure that whatever you're using is about an inch longer than you want the hairs to be. You'll need a doll to add the hair to. I'm using this mermaid doll. You can find all my doll tutorials in the description below. If you like, you could use a wig cap that's a similar color to the hair you'll be making, so that the color of the doll's scalp won't show through the hairs. You don't need to use one if you don't want to, but you can find my wig cap tutorial in the description below. If you want to, you can use small rubber bands to keep the braids from unraveling, and you can also use a comb to brush out the ends of each braid. To make up my doll's hair, I'll be using 5 different shades of Aran weight yarn to give the hair a gradient effect. But you can use any color of Aran or worsted weight yarn you like to make your doll's hair. The yarn colors I used were this magenta called Rich Orchid from Loops and Threads Impeccable, this light pink called Rose from Karen 1 Pound, this dark gray called Charcoal from Red Heart Super Saver, this dark purple called Aubergine, and this violet called Hot Pink, both from Red Heart with Love. If you like, you could just use one color to make your doll's braids. First, I'm going to cut my yarn to the right length to create the first row of hairs. I have my piece of cardboard that I already cut to size. I cut mine to 6 inches. So I'm just going to wrap my yarn all around my cardboard. How many times you wrap your yarn is going to depend on what size your doll is, how thick you want your braids to be, and how many braids you're going to make. I like to use 3 strands of yarn for each braid so that it'll be easier to divide the hair for the braids. So I'm going to cut a number divisible by 3. For my first row of hair, I'm going to cut 12 strands of each color. Alright, I've finished wrapping my yarn. Now I'm going to use my scissors and I'm going to cut through all my strands on this side where I first started wrapping my yarn. Now each strand should be double the length I want the hair to be. Next, I'm going to do the same thing again with all the colors to make more strands of the same length. For my first row of hair, I'm going to cut 12 strands of each color. Next, divide all the strands into groups of 3. You can do each strand with just one color, or you could mix the colors together into the same braid. It all depends on the look you want. I like to mix the colors of my braids together so that the colors blend into each other. If you want thicker braids, you can add more than 3 strands of yarn to each group of hairs. Just make sure the amount of strands you add is still divisible by 3, to make it easier to braid evenly. Alright, now that I've finished separating my strands into groups of 3, now it's time to install my hair. So I'm going to take one of my bunches, and I'm going to fold it from the middle. Then, using my crochet hook, I'm going to pull that bunch of hair from the middle into the middle of my doll's forehead, where I want the hairline to start. Then I'm going to pull all these ends of my hair through the loop that's on my hook. Then pull on all the ends of the hair bunch to tighten the loop. And I'm going to do that with all the hair bunches that I made all around the hairline of the doll's head to create the first row of hair. Alright, I've gone all the way around the doll's head with all my strands. Now I'm going to cut 12 more of each color to make the next row of hair. Then separate those strands into bunches of 3. Next, I'm going to add a row of hair on either side, going down the middle of the back of the doll's head. And when I'm finished with the middle rows, I'm going to cut 12 more strands of each color and make more bunches of 3. Then I'm going to use those bunches to add 2 rows in between the middle row and the hairline row to fill out the hair more. If you want the doll to have less volume to their hair, only add a few hair bunches in this area. Or if you want more volume, add lots of hair bunches here. So I finished adding the bunches of hair to the doll's head. Now it's time to start braiding the hairs. Since I used 3 strands in each bunch of hair, I'm going to separate each hair bunch into 3 groups of 2 individual strands to make a 3-strand braid. And then braid the hair. Once I get to the bottom of the strand, I'm going to use my comb to brush out the tip of the hair. Then either use a rubber band to fasten off the tips, or continue to braid all the way to the tip of the hair. Keep on braiding that way until you've braided every strand of hair. And now my doll's braids are finished. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a like or share it on social media. If you want to see more basic doll tutorials, you can find a playlist at the end of this video, or check in the description below. If you want to help support me in making new videos, donate to my Patreon. It's entirely optional, but if you do, you can get some perks, like having access to my videos a week before they're posted here on YouTube. You can find more information about that in the description below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, subscribe to my channel and I'll see you all next time. Bye!